Okay, we're going to go ahead and kick off the public safety meeting for today, November the 30th. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Alderman Boyd,
He's excused today.
Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Howard,
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Present.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Present.
Alderman Bosley, Alderman Muhammad,
Here.
Alderman Oldenburg,
Present.
Alderman Narayan,
Here.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderman Page,
Present.
Chairman Vaccaro.
Present.
8 present, you have quorum.
Okay. So next we need to get the approval of the minutes from the November 16th meeting.
Chairman,
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, the minutes will have to be approved for next meeting.
For the
No.
November 16th meeting.
Yes, sir, those are not the correct minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry. That's the ones I have in front of me. Which meeting is that?
No,
we need
it's- they're the minutes that you're looking at from the previous meeting, so not for November 16th.
Okay, mine must read wrong because it says approval of the minutes from Tuesday, November 16th meeting.
Right,
Committee
that,
meeting.
right. It's just the minutes are incorrect, that's all. It's from the previous meeting, from the last meeting that we had, which was I want to say the October 13th. It's from October 13th. I just didn't have a chance to update it, that's all.
That's okay. So we have no minutes to
No
approve.
minutes, correct.
Okay, that's okay. And Alderwoman Howard, I think you're next in seniority, as I'm going to be kind of trying to get my computer so I can actually be on the thing. If you could help, we're going to start because we were working on Alderman Todd's bills, and we didn't have enough people at the meeting to really give it any justice. If you
So
could,
let me ask, are you going to go in order of the agenda here?
I think we're going to start. We're going to do Jesse Todd's, but Alderman Todd's. My computer might be letting me kick in. Let me see if I can get in. If I can get in, I'm okay. It's just I can't follow it on this little
Okay.
thing. And here, wait a minute.
Recording in progress.
Wait a minute. Okay, let me jump out here. I'll be right. I can do it over. Okay, much better. Thank you. But through this meeting, if you don't mind,
Are you good?
I'm okay now. But through
Okay.
this meeting, if you don't mind, you'll also be serving as
Just let me know what you want me to do. Okay, all
because
right,
we co-chairman's out.
yes,
I promised Alderman Todd we would hear his first because they were left over from the last meeting because we didn't get them done.
okay.
Because we had a HUD's meeting. So I think what we're gonna do is, Alderman Todd, I'm gonna.
Mr. Chair, you're in charge until you tell me otherwise, okay? Thank you.
Alderman Todd, let me see which one we worked on last time. Okay, so Alderman Todd, let's start out with Board Bill number 119.
Mr. Chairman, I want to know if I can only do the lawyering bill today
That's fine. So you want to do which, okay, so you're going to pull 119. What bill do you want to hear today? What number?
just the lawyering.
Okay, which board number is that? Or I can figure it out in a minute.
19.
119, okay.
119. That's the only one that we're going to hear of Alderman Todd, so we'll pull the rest. So Alderman Todd, you're recognized on Board Bill 119. Yeah, codified section. prohibiting charges of lawyering. Yep, that's at 119. So
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Public Safety Committee members. First of all, I would like to say I got my information from the book by Frank Friedel and Henry and Druin called America Is. And also, no one has been locked up for or prosecuted by the city since 2012. And I got my information from Mr. Fifi, who is an attorney for the mayor's office. Also, and why I'm presenting this bill is because of the fact that it's unconstitutional. It has been ruled unconstitutional, and I had a constitution in the bill I just cited, and it says Congress shall make no law respecting freedom of speech or the press or the right of people to peacefully assemble, which means Congress shall make no law to take away freedom for people to gather peacefully together. So that's, and then also what happens is it takes up police officers' time. It also costs the taxpayers money because of the fact that the police officer is being paid by the taxpayers as well as the wear and tear on the car, just to name a few, and gas, just to name a few things. Okay, so the reason I would like to have this law rescinded is because, again, it's unconstitutional. It takes a police officer's time, and if someone does get locked up, again, it goes on their record. And I would like to see as few things on our citizens in St. Louis's records as possible, so that they can have more job opportunities. And also I think that, of course, most people, when they violate a law, recognizes that a law is being violated. But if they are not doing anything, that may create a bad relationship between the police officers and the citizens. And so that's the other reason, because in order to, sometimes the citizens need to cooperate with the police, and if the citizens don't feel they can trust the police or feel harassed, they may not cooperate, as well as we don't want to overstress our police officers with unconstitutional laws, as well as when I was sworn in, I think I was sworn in as Alderman to uphold the Constitution of the United States. And so I think this is within the framework of me also making sure as a lawmaker that laws that are not constitutional are not used against citizens. And thank you very much, Mr. Chairman and Public Safety Board.
So I know there's some speakers. I will say that I did a little bit of research on it with a little bit of help. So I don't know that there is an ordinance. I see it's repealing an ordinance, but no ordinances. Well, Chicago versus Morales, 1999. The court struck down. They put this together to try to keep gang violence down and gangs from gathering, and said that basically you can't create an ordinance that prohibits loitering in a sense, unless it's very specific. And that's pretty much what I was told by an attorney that I trust. So we can go down the list, but I don't understand 100%, because apparently you're somewhat right in the sense that people can gather, and I don't know who determines whether or not they're loitering, but I think what we'll do is I'll go down the list of speakers. Madam Clerk, would you want to go ahead and call the speakers, or at least give them the 3-minute time? I can call them. Every one of the speakers is in favor. There's nothing opposed to this. None opposed. So if you can just time them on the 3 minutes, I would appreciate it. And for the speakers, you get 3 minutes to speak on why you feel this is a good ordinance, and we need to swear you in. And you don't have to tell us your address, but if you represent yourself or an organization, and if you live in the city, what I think it's what block you live on, or what 100 or what area. So so we can just go down the list here because I have addresses in front of me. I kind of know, but first one would be Simmons, and is it? And I have trouble with the first name, but Simons is the last name, or Simmons. Is someone here by that name? And Madam Clerk, maybe you can help me with the first name. It's like called. I can't really pronounce it. So
Yeah, me neither. I can check to see if they're.
And I'm sorry. And while you're doing that, Antonio or Internet Hunt. They may not be on. She's checking. You're checking to see if some of them are around?
Yeah, it's the first speaker is not on yet.
Okay. In the Mrs. Hunt or Mr. Hunt? Or Jackie Langham?
I'm here.
Jackie, why don't we start with you? I need to swear you in if I could.
Okay,
Do you swear or attest that you're going to tell us the truth?
I do.
You're the best. And just state if you I see, but I can tell by what I have in front of me, but did you represent yourself or a group, and the group that you represent, if it's a group?
Absolutely. Do you want me to go ahead and get started and share all of that with you?
Yeah, go and do that, and then she can time you after you tell me who you represent or if you're representing yourself.
Okay, thank you. My name is Jackie Langham. I am a resident of the 23rd Ward, where I've owned a home at 6209 Oletha for 8.5 years. I am also the Director of Advocacy at Arch City Defenders. I am here in my capacity as an individual resident of the city, but also feel that I need to make sure I disclose where I am employed.
That's fine.
I'm sorry?
But you're representing yourself, not ours.
But I'm representing myself, absolutely.
Okay, go ahead, and she'll kind of time the 3 minutes out, but go ahead and let us know.
Great, thank you. I have worked with and on behalf of the unhoused and those at imminent risk of homelessness since moving to St. Louis over 15 years ago. When I moved here, I learned that the National Coalition for the Homeless named St. Louis one of the top 20 meanest cities with regard to criminalization of homelessness. Little has changed since then. This is a systemic failure of our community. It is a choice we make daily as St. Louis implements and enforces laws that criminalize the very existence of our unhoused neighbors. Current ordinances can punish the unhoused for engaging in basic life-sustaining activities. The laws are easier to enforce in cities like St. Louis that do not provide adequate shelter options for the unhoused. In fact, our public policy is the leading cause of homelessness in St. Louis, as it is caused by economic and structural conditions that lack affordable housing, that include the lack of affordable housing, low-wage jobs, transportation, lack of access to healthcare, mental health treatment, and substance use treatment services. Enforcement of anti-loitering laws often overlap with enforcement of municipal or state trespass laws, as a citation or arrest for loitering will often be accompanied by a warning that a return to the same area may result in an arrest for trespass. St. Louis City municipal prosecutors often ask unhoused individuals to consent to stay away from certain areas of the city in exchange for dismissal of panhandling, loitering, or other charges, or of their fines and costs. The combined effect of such laws and practices may result in lengthy or even indefinite bans from public areas, such as local parks, public libraries, and buildings where they need to access services. Individuals who are saddled with criminal records for engaging in survival activities face steeper challenges finding jobs, housing, or other benefits like food stamps, thus perpetuating the cycle of homelessness. As written, the current ordinance criminalizes homelessness and criminalizes poverty. They violate local and state laws, federal law, and international human rights. Judges across the country and in Missouri have struck down similar laws as unconstitutional. The ordinance under consideration today are applied discriminatorily, are vague, and invite arbitrary enforcement, violate the freedom of assembly, violate the freedom of movement, violate the freedom of speech, and constitute cruel and unusual punishment. These laws are inhumane and need to be removed via Board Bill 119. If St. Louis continues to enforce the ordinances, it remains open to litigation and its costs, money that could be better utilized providing services to end homelessness and undo or reverse years of harm to our unhoused neighbors. Thank you.
You're welcome. And when on the homeless, I agree, and we should talk because there is. I've been trying to fight some of this, but I need to stay on subject. So thank you. But you should call me or walk over. Mr. Williams. It looks like Kennard Williams.
How's it going?
Good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right.
I got to swear you in.
Yep.
Do you promise or swear that you attest that you're going to tell us the truth?
All three.
Yeah, I knew you would. And that you live in the city. You don't have to give us an exact address, just what 100 area, Black, I think, for the record.
So I'm here representing Action St. Louis. Our office is at 1041 North Vanderbilt. Okay, good. Madam Clerk, if you could start the clock, and Mr. Williams, if you can just go ahead and let us know what you got. Okay. First, we'd like to extend a thank you to Alderman Todd for sponsoring Board Bill 119. It looks like 125 was removed off of the agenda for today, but we'd still like to commend him for taking a step in the direction of decriminalizing poverty in St. Louis by repealing the ordinances listed. The need for repealing both loitering and panhandling ordinances have never been greater and more relevant in St. Louis. Due to aggressive and punitive legislation like these ordinances on the books, St. Louis has historically seen our unhoused residents get introduced and cycle through the carceral system for not being able to pay fines, accumulating warrants, and ultimately ending up in the workhouse. Additionally, many residents in St. Louis who are housed are struggling to navigate an eviction crisis that is still threatening the housing stability of even larger numbers of people. Of this, we know these are working class families with children and elders already struggling to make ends meet as the city infrastructure is straining to meet the needs of residents who continue to wait for resources like rental and utility assistance. Every day, there are residents in this city trying their hardest to make ends meet in the best way that they can to support their families, to catch the bus, or just to make it another day. It is unconscionable to continue enforcing or keeping on the books harmful and regressive legislation such as these laws. We urge the committee to repeal the loitering and panhandling ordinances in the city. These are policies designed only to extract money from the poorest of the poor in our city and do not contribute to any public safety, health, or general good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for staying within the time. Ramona Curtis. Is Madam Clerk, is she here? Oh, yeah, she is.
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here. Hello.
Now I need you to swear or attest you're going to tell the truth. Do you swear or attest you're going to tell the truth?
Yes.
That's good. And if you represent a group or yourself in what it don't just what Black, not 100, just kind of where you live in the city.
My name is Ramona Curtis, and I live in the 3400 block of McKean, and I represent Unhoused STL. I'm the founder of that organization.
Okay. And Madam Clerk, if you go ahead and Ms. Curtis, go ahead and you're free to go ahead, please.
Thanks. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak, and thank you, Alderman Todd, for introducing both of these bills. I'm here to support both Board Bill 119 and Board Bill 125. As a founder of a grassroots community organization that is working to connect unhoused and underserved people in St. Louis with services, resources, and hope, we oppose legislation in St. Louis that criminalizes homelessness. Both of these bills or both of these laws criminalize homelessness. One of our community partners, Urban City Services, Andre Cole, who is a longtime unhoused advocate, says often that the homeless are the people that have nowhere to be, but are always tasked with finding somewhere to go. Loitering is cruel. People don't have homes, they have nowhere to go, and we are criminalizing the fact that we as a society are failing to support these people. I think, we think at Unhoused STL that the city needs to stop criminalizing homelessness. As we work with our unhoused neighbors, we are seeing this happen more and more, where instead of providing support and understanding for the homelessness situation, we are instead criminalizing it and feeding homeless people into the prison pipeline. According to prisonpolicy.org, people among the 5 million formerly incarcerated people living in the United States, they find that formerly incarcerated people are 10 times more likely to be homeless, and homeless people are more likely to be incarcerated. And we ensure that when we criminalize homelessness. Even if we don't want to stop criminalizing homelessness because it is the right thing to do, according to homelessvoice.org, it is also cost effective. It costs taxpayers, according to a 2014 study, it costs taxpayers a little over $31,000 a year to criminalize a single person suffering from homelessness through enforcement of unconstitutional anti-panhandling laws, hostile architecture, which we utilize here in the city, police raids of homeless encampments, which we do here in St. Louis, and general harassment. $31,000 per single person a year. However, this study found that the cost of providing supportive housing was $10,000 per year. So even if you don't care about treating unhoused people fairly, and the Board of Aldermen is a steward of the city's money, and it would actually save the city funding to actually stop criminalizing
3 minutes.
homelessness. Lastly, Unhoused STL wants to ask the Board of Aldermen to provide immediate housing using the ARPA funding that they say exists. And thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Okay, God bless, thank you. August Kelly.
Hey, yeah, thank you.
Can I swear you in?
Oh, right, go ahead, thank
Yeah,
you.
it's one of our new rules. We used to never do this, but do you swear and attest that you're gonna tell us the truth here?
Yes, I do.
And if you can state if you're representing yourself or an organization, and if it's if it's yourself, maybe like a block you live on, an area. If it's an organization, just the organization where they come from.
I work with Tent Mission STL.
Okay, that's right. And are they based somewhere or not?
No, we don't have like an office space.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. So if you go ahead, Madam Clerk, if you would, and if you go ahead and give us your testimony, I'd appreciate that.
Yeah, also wanted to thank Alderman Todd for bringing this because I do feel like the least that we could do, as others have said, and I echo, is we could decriminalize being poor. Unhoused persons are often experiencing one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult period of their lives. It's hard probably for many of us to imagine what it would be like living outside unless that's something that we've done before. But with the specifics around loitering, I just am curious how one would recognize someone as loitering. The only criteria that I can imagine are signs of poverty, like when people have all of their things with them. Out of sight, out of mind is a cruel and selfish solution to the discomfort we naturally feel for others who are in a rough place. Out of sight, out of mind is an attempt to not empathize by not seeing, literally. When a couple pauses to watch the sunset on their evening ritual walk, are they loitering? When neighbors pause to chat, leaning on their bicycles in their cycling gear, are they loitering? Technically speaking, an unhoused person would be in a perpetual state of loitering, like at all times. And just makes me wonder, like, what their alternative option would be if they're forced to exist in public by nature of being unhoused. The alternatives to existing in public are to be housed or to pay and exist in a business. If they can't exist in public without loitering charges, can't exist in a business without money, and are looking at another charge for asking for money with the 125 that I guess we'll get to another time. And the shelters are full nightly. Libraries also close. I just, their existence is criminalized by nature with this loitering ordinance that's currently in place. Unless they were in just like constant movement, like walking all day so as not to exist in public, that'd be impossible for a human body. It makes it like a law that can't be enforced. It could only be applied unequally to people who are impoverished, and it makes that inherently inequitable. I don't understand how anyone could be representing people, all of the people, regardless of class, if someone's literal existence is criminalized, as I think that we can see through that short thought experiment. Thank you.
God bless. Thank you so much. And next up is Furfur. I guess in the hall. And I'm sure I'm messing that name up.
I think that's Noel from the mayor's office.
Oh, okay. I guess, is he here? Yeah, I'm sure it is F-E-R, Pfeiffer, however he pronounces it. Is Noel here?
I don't think so.
Okay. And did we get the other first two? Did they show up yet or no? Hunt and Simon?
No.
Okay.
We did skip over, first name is Sarah.
Oh, it mustn't be on my list. No,
Number 6.
no, we did her. Sarah, I thought I did her.
Sarah Sanseri, she's on.
Okay, Sarah, yeah, I'm sorry, I got a check mark by your name. I thought we did it. Sarah,
Hi.
I'm so sorry. Can you swear or attest that what you're going to tell us is the truth?
I will.
And just if you represent yourself for an organization, and if it's yourself, the block or area you live in, and if it's an organization, the organization.
Great. My name is Sarah Sanseri. I live in the 5th Ward near Monroe and Florissant. I work for Places for People, but I am not here on behalf of Places for People today. So just as myself, I do think that my work here informs my thoughts about this bill. So Places for People, we're a community mental and behavioral health agency, and we provide services for people with severe mental illness and substance use. And so as you can imagine, a lot of our folks are unhoused, and one of our biggest struggles is figuring out and keeping housing for folks. And And we have a legal team that does kind of go into the jail and work with folks there. And I just wanted to, a lot of people have said really good points in some of the things I might have said, but I wanted to mention some things that they said to me today. So one thing that they see, of course, is that there are a lot of folks in jail for just low-level nonviolent crimes, or they're ticketed or they have fines, and those things do become a barrier to getting folks housed. And the biggest thing that they see, I think, as the problems when folks do end up in jail, because particularly for folks who struggle with mental illness. So one thing to know is that often judges do not want to release people without a home plan. So in other words, a place to go, a shelter, or housing. So those folks then might sit in jail. The same folks who would be often sort of targeted by this, using this loitering ordinance. Also, as hard as the jail staff might try, they usually for folks with a mental illness, they don't often get the right meds or have the right meds as they're in there, and really struggle with that. The wait for beds at the DMH facility in the city, the state hospital is really long, can be up to a year. People don't want to refer folks there because of that. They know they'll be in limbo. And a big thing too is that folks lose their benefits while they're in jail, including Social Security. So if someone is getting Social Security, if they're in for a month, they're supposed to report it and they don't get that income. If they're in for longer, their benefits can stop a couple months, or for sure if they're in for a year. And one of the big things that our teams here see is that you can't get those benefits turned back on if someone is in jail. So you'd have to wait until they get out, which then they have no plan. So then how are they getting out? So I wanted to speak to that, and also just to relay that I think that one of the very basic things to remember with this is just where are they supposed to go? If we are not providing sufficient services for folks who are being targeted by these, the loitering ordinance, and also the other one, the panhandling ordinance, then where are they supposed to go? And that's our responsibility. And as August mentioned, that's something that we often want to hide, and we don't want to make visible. And I think that it's really important that we
3 minutes.
don't do that.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to take a minute and just let you know, I agree on a lot of this. And Alderwoman Clark Hubbard knows, because she was with us. We had the homeless coming in before this COVID, roughly 100 or so of them in the city hall, and trying to work through this. And you're right, they get tickets for loitering, then they don't go to court. One, they have no way of knowing the court date. So, and I've said this over and over, because there's women that I've talked to that are being raped nightly, but when you say, have you talked to the police? They don't, because they know they have warrants. It's a bad situation, and one that is close to me. And I'm trying to work with that. Trying to set a meeting up. I had Chris Rice, Larry Rice's nephew, at the meeting last time, and it's something we need to work on. I will say, I understand about the loitering. I get both sides of the coin, although I'm sure I'm going to support this, but the other side is, I think where the issues have come in is outside, like the hockey stadium. A lot of the homeless sleep there because it's warm. They're on the grate there, And when there's an event coming into the city, the police also want to move them along, and of course they do get tickets and stuff. On the surface, I'm going to support this, but it does make it a little tougher. Like if there's an event in the city that whether it's a hockey game or something, it will take the rights of the police to say, hey guys, you are loitering, you're sleeping here. And it makes downtown and the city as a whole, because some of the emails I've gotten have been on both sides. I can tell you, my understanding is the ordinance as it sits is not even legal. It was struck down. And again, the court struck down ordinances that are vague. And this was a vague ordinance. It would almost have to be specific, the ordinance. So I just wanted to put that out there. And any of the people that are trying to work, the groups trying to work with the homeless, we may not agree on every subject, but when it comes to the homeless, I would love to sit down and I want to have a meeting, public meeting, possibly next week, on how we start to address these problems. I've talked to Larry Rice, and I'm sorry. So this is sort of germane, but not. I can say on the surface, I do plan to support this, but I do caution that, what I'm hearing is if there's a group, and most likely it'll always be homeless people that are laying out, or they're all at the foot of the arch, or they're somewhere where there's some big public event. We do take away, at least it seems like we would somewhat limit the police their right to say, hey guys, you need to move along. And I think you're going to get a lot of grief from the downtown people who seem to apparently, came in after the homeless people, but would like to see the homeless people go somewhere else other than there. I'm going to go through the committee. Alderwoman Davis, are you here?
Yes, sir.
Any speaking on this, feel free to let us know your thoughts.
Chairman, I don't have any comments at this time. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Alderwoman Howard.
I guess my only question is, we have all these things going on, and we spend a lot of time working on the homeless situation. And I guess my question is, what are we doing to resolve it? We've got all these people, and I don't know, maybe it won't be resolved. Is there a plan here? I guess, we're talking about taxpayers, we're talking about transient people. My understanding is there's probably 2,000 homeless in the city of St. Louis, and we spend an awful lot of time. And I understand it is a need. I do understand, but I guess my question is, and I don't know who can answer this, what are we doing to resolve this situation and get these people housed? Because it just seems like we're in this circle of homeless, and then there's I don't know if there's any incentive for them to come on, for homeless people to get off the streets. I don't know. I don't really understand what I understand the bill, but I don't know how we're planning to resolve the situation. And maybe it's a rhetorical question. So I'll move on. Thank you.
Well, I'd like to try to answer that a little bit. So you're right, there is no good one answer. And some people choose to be homeless, others do not. And it seems that nobody wants them in their neighborhood. So if you say, gee, you know what, we'll make this a homeless area, I've gone through this.
I don't think there's any problem with having people in the neighborhood. It's having people that are transient living on the streets and possibly taking, I don't know. I just,
no, I'm saying that
I would like to get these people in housing somehow. And it seems as though we have no incentive for doing that if we keep removing, I always talk about the positive reinforcement of good behavior, but we don't have any way to reinforce good behavior if there's no bad behavior. So, okay, I'm getting too philosophical. Never mind.
I don't know, and it's something that I've been a part of since long before I was an alderman, going way, way, way back. And they have no rights to vote. Everybody says you have the right to vote. Try it. I already went to the Board of Elections. You can get the applications to vote. You better have a place that they can get a mail. There's all kinds of things that block them from becoming voters. I think they'd have a better voice if they became voters, because they'd be a pretty good voting block. But you can't register your park. And we tried to use Larry Rice's place as a place just to receive mail, so they could register to vote. Anyway, I'm going way off track, and I will say it's not an easy problem, but there are things that we need to do. And anyway, I'm just going to go down the list. I'm sorry. Alderwoman Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So it's my understanding that the original bill introduced, the ordinance 61415 is what we're repealing here.
Yes.
And that bill doesn't have anything to do necessarily or directly with our unhoused, but rather is specifically related to the act of loitering, and has been found to be unconstitutional because so really, while these other issues are important, what we're doing here, we're proposing to do repeal an unconstitutional law in our books, is, while tangentially related to the subject, is not actually what we're going to be doing. So, it's my understanding that this is just a matter of kind of cleanup of our code, to remove something that has been found to be unlawful.
Right. Again, it was, my understanding was Chicago versus Morales in 1999. The court struck it down and said it was too vague.
Right. So in that sense, all we're doing here is really removing something from our books that has already been determined by the courts to be an illegal law.
Well, unenforceable. Yeah.
Unenforceable law. So in that, I think that the conversations around the other pieces here are very important, and conversations that we need to have. They're outside the scope of what we're considering doing here. And I think we should move forward with removing from our books something that is absolutely unenforceable. So with that, I'm voicing my support for this, and hoping that we can vote on it and move forward. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Well, thank you. Alderwoman Pam Boyd.
And I guess my question is, so I'm with Alderwoman Spencer. We're not talking about homeless. And I too have been involved with the homeless and tried to look at how we can address it, which I feel as a city, we don't address the homeless, period. We're not looking at, we have all these organizations. I don't see nobody coming together saying this is how we can work in unity to correct the issues. But I guess the silent voices that I'm listening to are my residents. And when you have people that's standing, putting their hands in their cars, walking up on their cars, so what are their rights? So you telling me it's unlawful for what we're doing. So what's happening to the people that's at the stop signs, at the signal lights, and you literally have people walking up, putting their hands in their cars. So what's the rights of those people? And so to me, you're ignoring the citizens that's out here in their cars, that's driving every day, to the people that's homeless or whatever. And a lot of people in my community, they're not homeless. That's just what they do. And they do have mental illness. And so it's shame on us as a city, because there's nothing there for the mental illness people. It's nothing there for homeless. And so everybody can talk all they want, but if we haven't came up with a solution to try to fix any of these issues, we're just as guilty as the law that we're trying to push for. So I'm hearing from my community, and they're tired of being scared going to stop signs and stop lights for people coming at them in their cars. So that's just my opinion.
Well, I think that's, we're not hearing that board bill today. That's the the other ones that Alderman Todd dropped, this has more to do with unlawful, what we have on the books is unlawful gathering, where like if a group seems to just gather on a street corner, but that's kind of what this is dealing with, is unlawful gathering, which is an ordinance that we have.
So if you have people that's standing around with assault rifles, nothing's supposed to happen to them.
In the state of Missouri, I think you can have it.
So we don't hold people accountable for their actions anymore. So we need to be like the Wild Wild West. We're an unlawful city, because that's what I'm hearing. We're going to be unlawful. Nobody goes to jail. Nobody will be prosecuted. You can walk around with assault rifles. You go in the stores. You can shoot them up. You can do whatever. You can do 2, you can do 15, and nothing is going to happen to you, because that's what I'm hearing. This committee is saying that they're voting for.
Well, I mean, I agree with what you're saying. I think what this has more to do with is just not, I mean, it has nothing to do with carrying guns or the panhandling. This just has to do with basically the court struck it down, and we'll be coming up to an attorney here in a few minutes, but the courts basically struck down these kind of ordinances where they're vague, is my understanding. And they're not enforceable. My concern that I said earlier is the police, I mean, they have people move along, they can give them loitering tickets. This is like a double-edged sword kind of thing. You know, it is an ordinance that's unenforceable. The courts have struck it down, and as we come up to our attorney, as we move along, maybe he can enlighten us a little more. But why? But I would think that even if a police officer wrote a ticket for loitering, I think that the courts would throw the ticket out, because it's an unenforceable. It's a law that the courts have struck down and said you can't enforce these kind of laws unless you do something very specific. Now, you can make a law specific to, you can't loiter outside of this area on this block during these times. So if you're trying to prevent them, say, loitering during a hockey game or a baseball game, you could do specific ordinances. And again, I think once we get down to our attorney friends here, he can tell me that I'm wrong, but that's my understanding. Is if you're having a problem like on the block of A and B in your neighborhood where there's constant loitering, then you could do a specific law to that spot, I assume, and we'll find out as we go down. So did you have any more, Alderwoman Boyd? You're so good. Okay. Let me go down here. Alderman Bosley, did you make it with us yet?
Yeah, yes, I'm here. I'd like to hear what the lawyer has to say.
Well, the lawyer is Alderman Bret.
Okay.
He is a lawyer.
And not to say that that's not just as good, but I'm just saying.
I hope he's good at what he does.
I think so.
I think he's a criminal lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I don't think it's. So we'll go down, and Alderman Muhammad had to leave the meeting. And I think we still have a quorum, but he had to leave. So then I'll go to Alderman Oldenburg.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Is the sponsor, will he take some questions on this?
Yes, I will.
Sure. Yeah, Alderman Todd, would you pause, answer questions to the Alderman in the 16th Ward?
Yes, I will be glad to.
Great.
Alderman Oldenburg, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Alderman Todd, you and others have referenced this unconstitutionality associated with loitering. Am I missing an opinion from the city councilor's office or an outside law firm or anyone making a record of statement that the specific law St. Louis has on its books around loitering is unconstitutional and that we need to repeal it. Have you provided any opinion from a lawyer that substantiates this law that you're repealing is in fact unconstitutional?
No, I have not.
Okay. I would caution this committee. While I think the intentions here are accurate and aligned with how we overcriminalize certain behavior, I would caution this committee to just all of a sudden say, this is an unconstitutional law when we haven't had a proper vetting from the legal community telling us that it is. I think advocates for the unhoused are it's great to hear from those points of view, and I think that's work that to the Alderman from the 20th point, that's work that I think we need to put at the forefront, and that it does sometimes conflate with what we think of as public safety, and I would like to bifurcate those issues for sure, but I have deep reservations without hearing from a lawyer who has put words to paper, particularly perhaps the city councilor's office, to say that this is unconstitutional. That would, of course, I think leverage more support than the testimony we've heard thus far here today. Another question for the sponsor is you referenced some data points or some metrics early on that this charge really hasn't even gone. There hasn't even been a municipal charge to this effect since 2012. Is that?
That's correct.
Okay. So, from a practical standpoint, I think officers may be using their discretion what's considered loitering or not. Is that what maybe you think the current practice is, Alderman?
They could. I'm not sure. That could be one of the reasons it hasn't been enforced since 2012.
So there's not a rash. There's not a rash of this. There's not an over policing on loitering that I'm missing in the community. Correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And is it just a fine if you are in fact found guilty of loitering? There's no jail time associated with the current ordinance. Do you know?
I don't have it in front of me, so the answer is no. I do not know the exact consequence.
Okay.
If I could answer that, the city ordinances, even for not cutting your grass or whatever, could be $500 or 30 days in jail. That's on any city ordinance.
Okay.
That's what the city courts. That's the most we can go. It's $500.
Well, those are parameters. I just don't know what specifically is in the ordinance, but the sponsor.
I don't know
either. So, okay, that's some information that I guess I can look that up and take another read of it. I don't have any further questions or comments at this time, and thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, thank you. And Alderman Narayan, you are an attorney. You may have more knowledge. If you think we need to seek outside attorneys before we put this up for a vote, we can. Also, if you think you have enough knowledge that you can share with us, we certainly will.
Sure. So I've thought about this issue for quite a bit of time after the Alderman from the 18th and I first discussed it some weeks back. He had talked to me about this bill as well as the bill that I guess is before this committee, but not being heard today regarding panhandling. I believe that the concern about the constitutionality of that brought forward both of the bills comes from the Fernandez versus St. Louis County case that St. Louis County just lost recently. Beavis Schock was the attorney on it. It ended up in a judgment against St. Louis County in the neighborhood of, I want to say, $430 some odd $1,000 in between damages and attorney's fees that were awarded to a panhandler. And so I think the goal here that the alderman from the 18th has is to prevent that type of spending on a lawsuit, because we all know, I know that we have a whole lot more important things that we could be doing with that kind of money. There's also some history of loitering ordinances being struck down in the city, as well as just the state of Missouri, starting from the 70s forwards. It looks like when these ordinances have been challenged, that they have to become more and more narrowly tailored as time goes on. I think the concern here is that since streets and sidewalks are essentially public forums, you can't prohibit assembly, speech, things of that nature, unless the test there that the Supreme Court of the United States has laid out, if it's narrowly tailored for a compelling state interest, is the criteria that must be met there. I think also this may be just a situation where different neighborhoods are looking at this in different ways. I know when I look at this this ordinance that's currently on the books here in my neighborhood, we loiter pretty regularly. We stand around on corners and talk to each other, and we just kind of call it community. But I guess in other places it could be considered loitering. So that's something to think about. One of the issues that was brought up last week about this was the concern about people in parks, particularly after closing time in parks, and in individuals' businesses as well. And I think it's important to note that this does not get rid of any trespassing ordinance or anything like that. So if people are in parks after close, they're trespassing, they're not loitering. Loitering is just kind of standing around without engaging in any business. But as many of the unhoused advocates brought forward, there are folks in our city that don't have a whole lot of choice but to be physically present without having business to attend to. I think we've kind of gotten a little bit off scope in our discussion here when we got onto kind of the unhoused issue, because this bill does not address the underlying issues that cause homelessness. So ultimately for me, I think in between the cyclical nature of charges of this type, and it like the alderman from the 16th brought up, it doesn't seem like this has been a major issue over the last close to a decade now. But just given the cyclical nature of these charges, that one citation, if you don't have a way to check your court date, things of that nature, that can really spiral on and turn into a much bigger issue. Given the fact that we haven't been prosecuting this in a decade, and the new concern with the Fernandez decision about the potential of being fined by the courts should any prosecution move forward, I think it's probably prudent to just clean up this statute by repealing it. And if we see an issue where all of a sudden there's massive amounts of people, around a specific area that we need to address, I think that we can probably create an ordinance that's more narrowly tailored, that wouldn't leave us open to some of the potential liability that we have here. So I'm supportive of this. I understand the hesitancy of some folks, but just since we haven't been prosecuting this anyway, and it allows us to remain open to some potential liability, I think it's prudent to move forward with it. So I'll be supportive of it today. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. I'm glad a lot of the comments that have already been made pretty much speak to where I am with this. I'm torn with this, and I told Alderman Todd that because absolutely nothing to do with the unhoused, absolutely nothing to do with criminalizing poverty. What it has to do with, and I can give specific details of what I'm talking about right now today. I am dealing with a loitering issue outside of a liquor store in the community that Excise Commission, against all of the people that came in and spoke against this liquor license, the Excise Commission of the City of St. Louis still granted them their liquor license under conditions that have not been followed. And so every single day I get texts and pictures of the people that are gathering at this store. They are not unhoused. They are not, they are just gathering there, drinking. It's in front of a library, God forbid, in a school. Children have to walk past. They are aggressive at times. All these different issues that I'm dealing with this, and you can hear it in the frustration in my voice. Alderman Todd, as I said to you before. That's why I say, and I hate that it was mixed today, because like my colleagues have said, this does not have to do with us trying to criminalize anything or poverty, unhoused issues, all of that. We all have a heart for that. We are all working for that. But at the same time, we have a responsibility to our constituents. And right now, I'm in an active fight against this very thing. So I know it was brought up that we have to clean this up. And I get that. I understand that part. So we'll clean it up. But at the same time, I don't want to limit some people who feel like victims of this kind of activity. There has to be some kind of medium and middle ground. I heard someone say that maybe we can do a specific law to that spot. If it's that spot, I got a spot for you. We can start there. I could be the trial, whatever, for that spot, because literally I am dealing with this every day, and people feel or sometimes even scared to come out of their home because of loitering, the different words we use for it. So again, I have to be on here. I have to speak on behalf of my constituents. I have to know my responsibility to them. I understand the cleaning up. So with that, I probably will support it, even though prior to I had questions for Alderman Todd that I just felt like didn't get answered. But please, at some point while we asking all these other questions, let's ask what we can do. What is the responsibility? What is the recourse going to be for the everyday citizens that can't walk to Cavaney Branch Library or can't send their kids to school because of the nature of some of the activity that goes on that can be titled loitering? And I get all these different ways we spin in the word loitering and trespassing and all that, but there has to be some kind of recourse, because we just cannot let people go on lawlessly, like Alderwoman Boyd said. So thank you for letting me speak about that, and thank you for your work on this, Alderman Todd.
Thank you. And you're making me more confused than I was before, in the sense that I still am like support, not support. It's a tough one. Alderman Page.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've been listening to every single word, and to my colleagues on the board, I will say, I feel you. Let's start with the sponsor of Board Bill number 119, my dear friend, the Alderman from the 18th. I will go from there to the Alderman from the 16th and his questioning the allegations that the current ordinance is unconstitutional. And last but not least, my good friend, the Alderwoman from the 26th, the mighty 26th, spoke for me passionately and elegantly, because I face some of the same sort of issues in the fabulous Fifth Ward. I've been so concerned over Board Bills 119 and 125 that I actually took the extra step to consult with Attorney Louis Galley to try to get some idea, to get some examples of case law around this loitering issue. And he provided me some information that increased my learning. It didn't satisfy me, but it increased my learning and got me to the point that I will probably extremely reluctantly and with prejudice support Board Bill number 119. I'm not happy about it because, in my opinion, it does not resolve really anything. So I'm going to be looking for opportunities to consider some legislation that is more specific and less broad. I would quote what Attorney Galley told me, but I don't feel authorized to do that. I wish he were here to share that information. I don't feel empowered to quote him in his absence. So I will say that I have had lengthy discussions with my good friend, the Alderman from the 18th, over these bills, trying to understand what's the right decision for my constituents in the fabulous fifth and for the city. I will reluctantly support 119, but 125, which is not before us today, I will kind of tip my hand and let you know that I'm a hard no on that as written. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Alderman Gunther, I see you there. Are you wanting to say anything while you're here?
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. I'm just here to listen. Thank you much.
No opinion? Oh my gosh. I guess you guys gather out on that Cherokee Street. Just like the, so anyway, yes, Alderwoman Davis, I'm sorry.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to have a brief comment.
Sure.
Based on all that I've heard thus far, I was in the same position as others. You see, for me, I look at this loitering bill and the situation here in the city very differently, because the average Black man or young person, if it's more than two, they are automatically loitering and or selling drugs. And so it had been used unfairly in the past. But one of the things that I do know is that our police department does not abuse this law. As a matter of fact, even it's unlawful to drink on public right-of-ways, including parks. We have signs up to say that, but they don't really enforce it unless there's something else going on. Because the average neighborhood park, we know folks get off work, they stop, they have a beer, they talk for an hour or so, and then they go home. That's every park that I pass. And so it's really not enforced. And I like the fact that most of us know that we have some serious problems, but this is not necessarily anything that's going to help us solve those problems. So I'm going to support it, but I'm not saying that it is a wrong bill, because I know that we have educated our police department. They have used good judgment. And on the particular case in the county, I thought it also involved some undue force. There were some other things other than just getting that summons. So we got some work to do on this so that we can have equal justice. Thank you.
At this point, I'm with everybody in the sense that I do get concerned about this either way, but here's the motions that I would accept if anybody wants to make a motion. We can make a motion if anybody wants to pass this out with a do pass recommendation. We can pass this out with no recommendation. If we don't get a motion in a second, then it's just going to sit in committee till we figure out what you want to do. So the options are, we can make a motion, pass it out with no, without a do, just pass it out with no recommendation, we can pass it out.
Chairman, a quick point of order.
Yeah.
Did the two different recommendations affect the vote count that's needed on the floor then? I know with a do not pass recommendation.
I don't think it does. I think it just gets it to the full floor, is my understanding. If Terry, the clerk, if he's out there, maybe he could answer. Marlene, I'm sorry, Alderwoman Davis. My understanding, that we've always had the right to pass stuff out to get it to the full floor for debate, but it does not. Alderwoman Davis, you know, if I'm correct on that.
Well, it's not going to affect it. We'll just have the opportunity to debate it on the floor like you would if you even gave a recommendation to accept. But Mr. Chairman, I wanted to ask you, you had mentioned that you had an attorney that wanted to speak.
No. I was referring to Alderman Bret, that he is
Oh, okay.
He's an attorney and he does criminal stuff. So I figured he would have some sort of thoughts. Obviously I respect his thoughts as an attorney.
And what about, I didn't ask, if you don't mind, sir.
Oh, no, go ahead.
What's the Public Safety Director's opinion on this bill?
We can ask him. He's not. He might be here. We'll see if he's here.
No.
He's not here. And I know we have some other aldermen that want to speak too.
I want to ask you if the city attorney has weighed in on this.
Hey, no.
Oh, I'm sorry. And I think Alderman Oldenburg had his hand up first, and then I'll just keep going across the board. But
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. I prefer an open discussion anyway.
I mean, my question is along those same lines as earlier, Mr. Chairman, is that I think the sponsor answered no. There was no request made to the city councilor's office, which again leads me to some of my, sort of the dubiousness to this decision making, is that we constantly hear from colleagues that, has the city councilor weighed in? Do you have a statement of record or an opinion from the city council's office? Have we fully vetted the legal community in something like this? And I would encourage us all to follow that protocol. Again, I think I agree with everyone's sentiments here, but I think it's also a matter of doing our due diligence as legislatures to make sure, let's get an opinion, and that this is seen as unconstitutional, or moreover, maybe someone can opine to the financial discipline that the alderman from the 24th referenced, that yes, given the way case law have gone, this could open the city to some legal suits. I would like to hear more from the legal community on that specific fact. I certainly respect the alderman from the 24th. I respect his profession as an attorney, but there are other attorneys, and hence this is why sometimes attorneys get things wrong, sometimes they get things right. I mean, that's the nature of this game. We rely on often the city councilor's office's opinion, again, just an opinion, and I'd like to sort of see that. I mean, Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'd like to table this bill until we can get that. I'd like to move that we table Board Bill 119 until we receive clarity or an opinion from the city council.
We don't want to table it.
Right. If you table it, 2/3 of this to get it back off the table. I'm sorry.
I understand.
I would say, my opinion.
A second.
I don't hear a second.
Second.
So you're seconding the motion to table this, Alderwoman Davis?
Yes, sir, because I believe most of us are of the opinion that something needs to be done, but we want to make sure we get it done right. And so it'll be easy to get a 2/3.
So it's not debatable. So there's been a motion made in a second. Madam Clerk, please call the roll. And this is on to table it, which sets it aside and would take 2/3 of this committee to get it back up and going again.
Alderman Boyd. Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
No.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderman Page,
Aye.
Chairman Vaccaro.
I always hate doing this, but I'll say aye. I'm always reluctant to table a bill. But aye.
8 aye votes and 1 no vote.
By your motion, you sustain the motion.
Madam Clerk, point of order. I was hoping it would come back around for me to vote.
Oh, I'm sorry. I can come back to you. Alderman Boyd, Alderwoman Spencer,
No.
Alderman Muhammad, 8 aye votes and 2 no votes.
Okay, and again, by your motion, sustain the motion of the Alderman of the 16th Ward. So, Alderman Todd, I think maybe we just work a little bit to narrow it a little bit. I think it's a good bill. I think there's some reluctance, and I have to agree that I don't think that it's enforceable. But having said that, we're going to move on. I got a text from Alderman Muhammad on Board Bill 117. He cannot be here and does not want his bill heard without him here. So we're moving that one out. I'm going to go to, because we have speakers on Board Bill. Sorry. Hang on 1 second. I'm sorry. Why am I not seeing that in front of me? I apologize. It's going to be Board Bill 122. It's Alderman Coatar's, the parking lot bill. And I will say on this, at this point, I've gotten phone calls on every which side. I do want to hear from the speakers that came to speak, but I will not be accepting a motion on this. There's a lot with the committee substitute just came out. A lot of people have not had a chance to go through it. And right now it affects everybody's ward, not just an area downtown. So I'm not saying we're killing this. We can hear it again next week after everybody's had a good chance to read the changes, but I don't think it's appropriate for us to have to deal with changes. I did talk to, and I see him on here, Frank Oswald, and I had asked him even this morning, he had just received a copy. So I think it's unfair to everyone. So I will not accept a motion on this, but I will hear from the speakers and from the aldermen. So having said that, Alderman from the 7th, you're recognized to hear your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I guess for the purposes of conversation, I mean, I'm going to speak as to the committee sub. Do you want to introduce the committee sub so it's in front of the committee?
Yeah, I think if you want to make a motion, if somebody wants to make a motion to put the committee sub in front of us, I think that's what we should be discussing.
So moved.
Do I got a second?
Second.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderman Boyd, Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley,
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad, Alderman Oldenburg,
Aye.
Alderman Narayan,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderman Page,
Aye.
Chairman Vaccaro.
Aye.
10 aye votes.
Alderman Coatar, I realize there's some urgency in your bill. I'm not trying to beat it up or kill it, but I want everybody to understand it, especially when it could affect neighborhoods throughout the whole city.
Chairman, I understand. I appreciate the opportunity to be heard and to present on this. Can I go ahead?
Sure, absolutely, please.
Okay.
Actually mute my.
Thanks, everybody. So we're here today on Board Bill 122 Committee Substitute, a copy of which was emailed to members of the committee more than 24 hours before the hearing in accordance with our rules and placed in your drop boxes. If you haven't looked at other versions, you can just look at the clean copy. I think that's a little easier to read. Most of the change, we didn't make a ton of substantive changes in the committee sub, but we cleaned some inconsistencies up. The purpose primarily of this bill, and this is a long time in the making, is to deal with, sort of unsecured surface parking lots in the city. Now, the bulk of these are located in downtown and downtown west neighborhoods, but there are some in other areas. And this bill is for surface parking lots citywide. We've carved out, lots that are adjacent to a business. So if you think of like a Walgreens or a Schnucks or something like that, where the parking lot is clearly for the retail establishment and they're not, people aren't paying to park, those are not included in this proposed board bill. What we're looking at and what our goal is to require, further security measures for surface lots that are not, used primarily by a business or adjacent to a singular business. So along those lines, what we're primarily trying to do is have fencing or hardscaping, including gating to keep people on or off the lot during non-operable, during non-business hours for that lot, and also require a security plan as part of the annual, parking permits. We already have language about parking permits on the books, and we're simply adding to that requirement that you submit a security plan for your specific lot to be reviewed and approved by both the building commissioner and the police division. And the reason we're doing this, and I want to talk about who's been involved in this effort and who's here to answer questions today. But the reason we're doing this, and this shouldn't be a shock to any of you, but we've in the last couple of years experienced an uptick in really alarming incidents, specifically downtown, and oftentimes the focal point, the congregating point for many of these bad actors downtown are these surface lots. They come down in their big cars. They've got automatic rifles. They're in huge crowds. Most of these lots are unmanned and unattended at night, and these crowds take over, and then they race around downtown. They're shooting out windows. They're shooting at people. It's been a real problem. We left this citywide because I sort of think that if we did this exclusively, limited this ordinance to downtown, we could find ourselves in a situation much like we have with cruising, where we might move it from one area to another in the city, but we're not actually solving the problem. And in conversations with the building division and the police division and downtown residents, we think the simple solution is, more security on these lots. The police cannot be everywhere at all times. And if you've got adequate security measures in place, you can secure your lots, especially in the overnight hours when most of this bad behavior occurs. So this is something, we've been in the works for a while and being talked about with both the Downtown Neighborhood Association, Greater St. Louis Inc., which for you, those of you who are not familiar, is an organization, sort of the umbrella group for economic development and downtown booster organizations, taking the place of Downtown St. Louis Inc. and the Regional Chamber and Civic Progress. So Greater St. Louis Inc.'s been involved, and I know representatives here to speak on their behalf. The police division's been involved. Frank Oswald, who I think is here, has been involved in this effort. The mayor's office has weighed in and is supportive of this, as well as the mayor's, newly formed Downtown Engagement and Public Safety Initiative, which is, I think, kind of being run by Greater St. Louis Inc. So we've had a lot of eyes on this. I certainly understand there maybe folks want to comment on the committee sub that's now in front of us, and that's understandable. I do want to get this moving, if it's not today coming out of committee, in the not too distant future, so we can get these measures put in place, and so hope to have, a much calmer spring and summer. Before I turn it over to some of the other folks who are on the call and with us today, I just want to point out, I certainly understand this is an added cost to businesses, to folks in the parking business, and that's not something they're particularly happy about. But I think this is, one of many things we are planning on doing to address the number of issues we've seen downtown. Securing these lots is one thing, traffic calming on our major thoroughfares, increased enforcement. This all has to be happening together if we're going to improve the situation downtown, and addressing problem properties, which I will give great credit to this administration. They've really stepped up and been doing a pretty good job in helping us address some of our worst actors and our worst neighbors, especially downtown. So, many years ago when I was first elected alderman, there was a push to get many of these surface lots, many of the same ones we're dealing with today, to get them paved. Back 6+ years ago, many of these were still unimproved gravel lots. Today, they're not. Today, they're all paved. And that was through regulation. That wasn't through them volunteering to spend the money on that. It was the city saying, you need to get your lot paved or we're going to condemn the property. And Frank and myself and others, we worked with these property owners. If they had a plan and it was going to take them 6 months or a year, we worked with them as long as we knew they were moving in the right direction, because we understood we were putting in a big expense on them. But I look at this as sort of an extension of that effort 6+ years ago, which is, all right, now we've got these all paved, and now we've got a whole new host of problems that have to be addressed. And just candidly, I don't think, many of these companies are going to be willing to do this voluntarily without the city saying, this is the new code, this is what you must follow. So with that, I want to turn it over just to a couple people. I don't want to belabor this too much, especially if we're not voting today. But if either, I know Captain Benoist and Major Kreisman are both here, if they could just sort of weigh in on how they think this could be helpful to their efforts as the police department downtown in particular. And then I'd like Sarah Arnosky-Coe from Greater St. Louis Inc. to weigh in. And then if there's specific questions, or if Frank Oswald has anything to say, he can as well. But I'll turn it over to the captain and the major.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for letting us be a part of this and to kind of give our opinion, not only from public safety, but kind of what we see throughout mostly the summer months. But we certainly have. I think it's not a big secret that we do have cruising issues that occur downtown, and we have parking lot issues that are a part of that. And so we have lots. We have really good relationships with most of the lot owners and most of the lot managers, but we do have some parking lots that during the summer months kind of become a party festival for us. And so, especially in the late night hours, especially on the weekends, particularly for this summer, it was really the Saturday night time, but it can be any night of the week. So they become meeting places for lots that are insecure, meeting places where groups hang out, drink, and really many nights have turned into some violent acts. So I think that those violent acts are the most important things that we have been looking at, and ways to keep the groups from kind of congregating. And I think that that hardscape, those fencing, those in and outs are the best way to do that. So, but, we certainly want to work with the parking lot owners and make sure that they can do this. The Alderman Coatar, he's right. There is a cost associated to it, but I still think it's an important thing to do. Something that's more important for us. I think that most people know I've been in the 4th District since 2015, and then recently, within the last year, was promoted. I'm still the major here at Central Patrol. We have both the 3rd and the 4th District and most of the entertainment areas, but doing something to secure and make safer parking lots is important to the whole city and even the region as a whole. So, we are happy. We're, been working with the alderman on this, and we're happy to be a part of it.
Did you have, do you want to?
Sorry, thank you, Major. And I would, before I ask Sarah Onasky-Coe from Greater St. Louis Inc. to weigh in, she's from their public policy team. I would add that, currently we've got all the downtown aldermen. So Alderwoman Ingrassia, Alderman Page, Alderwoman Davis, and myself as sponsors of this. And they've weighed in on the language. I know Alderwoman Peel has recently signed on. I don't think that's reflected maybe in the bill in front of you. And I'd welcome other co-sponsors, of course. And with that, if Sarah Onasky-Coe has anything to add or wants to talk about how this fits into what Greater St. Louis Inc. is working on sort of more broadly relating to downtown safety, that would be very welcome.
Great. Thank you, Alderman Coatar. Again, thank you all for your time today. I'm pleased to be here on behalf of Greater St. Louis Inc.'s business community, especially our downtown investors, to offer our support for Board Bill 122. Greater St. Louis Inc.'s purpose is to bring together our bi-state region business and civic leaders to create jobs, expand inclusive economic growth, and improve the St. Louis Metro's global competitiveness. We represent businesses and institutions that employ more than 220,000 people in our bi-state metro area. And we join you in recognizing that a thriving and safe downtown is critical to our economic growth and prosperity in our region. If the entire metro is to grow and prosper, we need our city core to be a magnet for innovation, employment density, and population growth. But unfortunately, the concern over public safety, particularly downtown, creates challenges to the efforts to grow our city. It impacts how existing businesses and potential businesses invest in our city. It impacts tourism to the city and our great attractions, and has a tremendous impact when it is an issue to the costs, the victims and families. And we recognize that public safety is a very complex and multifaceted issue. Greater St. Louis Inc. has been an active partner, as mentioned earlier, in the work of the Downtown Engagement and Public Safety Initiative. So we partnered with the city and several downtown stakeholders in the past few months to address pressing safety issues, but also make sure that we're contributing to a more vibrant and active downtown through the creation and promotion of downtown events and placemaking for youth, residents, visitors, and employees returning back to the office. And so in addition to these efforts, we believe that Board Bill 122 is a step in the right direction to increase public safety measures for surface parking lots. And so at Greater St. Louis Inc., we look forward to continued urgency on these efforts and the partnership and collaboration to address public safety issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate that and the work your organization is doing. And I know Frank's here. Frank, some of this work's going to fall on your department. If you're available still, I don't know if you're still with us and can weigh in on just sort of what you do now and how you think you'll handle this going forward.
Sure. Thanks everybody for taking the time to listen to us about this. I too agree that this is really critical to the whole region as a whole. And I think everybody's talked about, why it's so important. So what I really wanted to kind of mention to everybody that hasn't been talked about is, I think what we will do, we'll have somebody dedicated to this under our special events program. And the objective here will be to set up a IT system where our parking lot owners can download their safety plan. They'll get alerted online. If the police are involved at a particular incident, they'll be able to get online as well. And they'll be able to put notes into the system as to what happened and why it happened. And that way we'll keep an annual record on everything that's going on. We'll be tech savvy, we'll be up to date on this stuff, and it'll be very convenient. At the same time, like Jack was saying, I think it's important to note that we've had a long-standing relationship with these, parking lot owners, and we'll certainly work with all of them, to get this thing done in a timely manner. But, I think it's really important that we have safe parking lots, and this last, summer has really demonstrated that we got a real issue with some of them. So that's about all. Thanks.
Thank you, Frank. I don't have anyone else signed up to speak, Chairman. I know that maybe some members of the public signed up, but we're happy to entertain any questions on the board bill.
Well, I do know that Dave Sweeney, but I wouldn't mind making a couple comments before even we talk to Dave. Some of my concerns, I guess we would say. There are probably more police downtown than anywhere else in the whole city, including an officer or two, at least one I know for two, from my area that have been taken and moved downtown. And even with all that, things not only haven't really seemed to improve with all the extra police officers downtown, but yet my neighborhood and neighborhoods north seem to be underserved in the sense that, we're getting car break-ins nightly, not weekly, not once a month, nightly. We're getting cars stolen off of auto repair lots. I was at one today over off Lansdowne, 2 cars stolen. We don't have the police services that downtown has. We don't have the SIDS and all the police. You would hope that even with all that, to put this on the businesses down there is just not right. But I while I have the opportunity, and since I get to do this, given my bully pulpit, I applaud Alderman Coatar for fighting for his neighborhood. And he should, and he does a good job. And, I'm not going to give his campaign speech right now, but I will say that the same concerns he has for downtown, I have for my neighborhood. And what I hear in the biggest population loss isn't coming from downtown St. Louis. It's coming from North St. Louis. It's coming from North St. Louis because there's guns going off every night. So this stuff isn't just happening downtown. What are we doing to deal with the car thefts and the people leaving my neighborhood? We're going to have a vibrant downtown with an empty city if we keep going at it the way we're going at it. I applaud Alderman Coatar, and I'm not speaking against his bill or for his bill. I'm just whining a little bit about police services, and everything is always, well, downtown, when my neighborhood literally has the second district, which is the largest district in the city, and the major can tell me that I'm wrong, and then I'll pull a map up, has fewer police than almost anywhere. I mean, what do we have roughly 4 or 5 police on any given night. My car was in a hit and run accident. It took 3 hours to get the police to come over. 3 hours. Because there were no police available to come. I'm just whining a little, not saying that Alderman Coatar's bill is the wrong bill or the right bill for the city. It's the right bill for his neighborhood. But I'm also want to know from the police, what's going on? What are you going to do for the 23rd ward where we begged? The average speed limit on Watson Road is 50 to 60 miles an hour because I paced it with my car. If you don't keep up, they run you over. I begged. We begged. We've had people killed in car accidents on Hampton. We've had pedestrians killed on Jameson. We beg for it. Our neighborhood says, where are the police in our neighborhood? But yet let's sit down and let's say in an area that has more police than any area in the whole city.
Chairman, could I weigh in?
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not germane to the bill. I apologize.
And all I would add is, so yes, I certainly recognize that downtown, we're all fighting for more police resources, right? We all want them for our neighborhoods, and I'm well aware, as everyone on this committee, that occasionally, downtown pulls from other districts when we have high profile events and things. One of the goals, one of the hopes with this is, if we can secure these lots, many of these lots right now, as they sit unsecured, we've got fixed post stationary officers sitting on them to try to keep people off of them from causing problems. If we can secure them, we can free up resources. And I don't claim to be an expert on that front. I'll defer to the major or the captain. But I mean, one of my hopes is if you secure the lots, then we're relying less on the police to babysit these parking lots.
Well, we need more police, period. So I mean, I don't care where they're from, but we need more police. I get that. And, again, I'm not being germane, so somebody could stop me, but we've had our first murder in the neighborhood. I'm telling you, lose this end, the tax base of this end of the city, lose North St. Louis, lose the tax base, and you'll have plenty of police because they won't have to patrol anywhere else. There won't be anybody living there. Anyway, that's very ungermane. So certainly if someone wants to call me out, they can. I'm going to let, because we had the two speakers, one is Brad Waldrop, and he is on the pro side, and we have Dave Sweeney with Larry Rice on the con side. So let me start with Brad. Are you with us, Brad? I don't know if he is.
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, Brad, I'm sorry to be whiny. Where's your picture at? Where are you at? Can you put your picture up with us?
It's up there. Oh.
Okay, there you are. Brad. Okay, now we can see you. Brad, I got to swear you in. It's part of the deal. Do you swear or affirm that what you're going to tell us is true?
I do.
Oh, very good. And if you're with an organization, please state the organization. If you're just someone representing yourself, if you can just state kind of the area you live in, that would be nice.
I'm a downtown developer and property owner. I've been downtown for 15 years. I also am a commercial real estate broker and developer with King Realty Advisors. Our office is at 318 North A Street on Old Post Office Plaza, but I'm here representing my own opinions related to the parking lot ordinance. I'm here in support of the parking lot ordinance, but before I go there, I gotta tell you that my heart is beating in my neck right now listening to the debate about the loitering ordinance. I have a picture of a tenant of mine, my office building tenant on Washington Avenue that was beat up last week by a young man that's been loitering around the property. And we also have someone that's been exposing himself behind Larry Rice's facility to my anchor tenant. So I'm in jeopardy of losing those leases at renewal. But I'll just speak about the surface parking lot ordinance. I've been waiting for this ordinance. It seems like for about 3 years. I do not know why it's written to be citywide. I don't recommend that simply for the idea that we need to get this thing passed in downtown and downtown west promptly. I personally own 521 parking stalls in downtown. About half of them have been improved with what's shown in Exhibit A in the proposed ordinance. That capital expenditure that we made has been paid back. It was paid back in less than 3 years. So for anybody in downtown or downtown west that owns paid parking to be concerned about making these capital expenditures, which will both promote downtown values and safety, it's just kind of asinine for them to be concerned about that. The CapEx gets paid back. I think Major Creasman can attest to the idea that our lots that have been improved according to Exhibit A in the board bill have been, the crime there is practically gone to zero, relatively speaking. It's not that we've eliminated it completely, but it does reduce it dramatically. One of my concerns about the board bill as written, besides the fact that it's written as citywide, which I think creates a problem to get it passed, is that it's not clear what hardscaping means. A 4-foot fence, aluminum fence, black, that has smashed finials on the top is plenty to keep criminals out. In addition to having gate arms, bullet point 2 and 3 in Exhibit A are written such that you don't have to have gate arms. You can have an attendant present. In our experience, those attendants are not always at their post, and you will continue to have problems. So I won't let the enemy be the perfect of, or let the perfect be the enemy of good here, though. I think that the ordinance as written is definitely a leap forward for downtown and downtown west. And I'm here if anybody on the committee wants to talk to me about my experience. Like I said, we've gotten our capital expenditures back. We've been able to make profit from the parking lots. And most importantly, it's promoting a safe downtown so that I can build on these parking lots. In fact, in Alderwoman Davis's ward, we are building on one of the surface parking lots. And I think that should be the goal here, to eventually have such a safe downtown that you're seeing structured or underground parking with new uses above. And that's my intent, at least as a developer. Thanks for the last thing I want to say is where's the downtown SID today? You guys will be hearing from me tomorrow, those that are on the Ways and Means Committee. Nobody from the SID was here to represent downtowners on the loitering ordinance or the parking lot ordinance. I think that should raise eyebrows for all of you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. And I hope they got their signatures together so we have more than a 5-minute meeting tomorrow. But that's
well, I hear.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm sorry. I think I lost them. We might have lost them. Brad, I think we lost you. Anyway, I'm gonna move on. Just Dave Sweeney, and he's with Larry Rice. Not Larry Rice. The firm, the law firm. Anyway, Dave, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Let's hear what you have to say. And I need to swear you in, please. Do you swear or affirm that everything you tell us is true?
I do.
Oh, good. Very good. And obviously, you're an attorney, so you're representing the parking lot owners, I assume.
Yeah. I am an attorney. I know some people on here might not believe that even, but I am. I've sworn to tell the truth. I am not with Larry Rice. I'm with Lewis Rice. But we're both downtown. Lewis Rice is downtown as well. I am registered lobbyist on behalf of 5 entities, which I just want to name just for public disclosure: Ballpark Village, Lodging Hospitality Management, Premier Parking in Missouri, St. Louis Parking, and Union Service Parking. They are stakeholders downtown as well. They're on those calls as well. They're probably not the issue at hand. Usually it's not those folks that come to the meetings. And I want to thank both Major Creasman and Building Commissioner Oswald for their words. And I would love to, I have some questions that I think will be best discussed offline, and I would love to meet with both of them with my clients. And I think we can figure out something that can keep things moving. Commissioner, that's really exciting about the online system, sincerely, and would love to learn more about that and work with the parking industry folks to get something that we can all work on. And I know there's some issues on what exactly building, what this includes and doesn't include and I think we can talk through that and figure out a resolution. So I appreciate the sponsor's time and the chairman's time to hear me. And I look forward to working with both the building division, Greater St. Louis Inc., Mr. Waldrop, anybody else, to figure out a solution so we can get this going. So.
Thank you. I'm going to go down the committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna go down the committee, and since I had my opportunity to whine and get off subject for a second, I think I'm just going on the list. Alderman Boyd's not here. So Alderwoman Davis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thoughts?
First, what I'd like to do is just thank everyone for being here and giving us additional information so that we can better understand the process that we are undertaking and the significance of it. Many people think that the problems only occur in downtown. Well, I'm a witness for every time we gain some opportunities to clean it up downtown, it moves right up to Midtown. And it's serious, and it's not just parking lots. We have people who are so lawless in our town, they take open operating businesses and take the lot over where customers can't even be serviced. So we have a lot of problems, but I'm excited about this bill. I think that even though some still have some concerns, those concerns will be worked out as we move forward. I do know that the comprehensive planning that is going on with the building division is going to be a lot more than we had even contemplated. So I hope that we can get support for this. And I hope that everyone can still stay in a mode of understanding and progressive movement. Thank you.
Thank you. And let's see here. Sorry, I'm making notes and I'm not good at doing both. So it'll be Alderwoman Howard.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to ask a question of the sponsor.
Was Alderman 16?
Go right ahead.
Would you? Okay, yes, go ahead, please.
I would like to know, this does affect the whole city, and I appreciate that. But I did see, I guess my question is, will everybody be put under the exact same scrutiny throughout the city and the same requirements?
I mean, the requirements, as written would be citywide. I think, in terms of enforcement and getting these up to code, the priority will probably be some of these downtown lots. But, to echo the comments of Alderwoman Davis, we've got a lot of surface parking lots just south of downtown, near Soulard, that I could easily envision these problems moving towards, if this isn't a citywide issue. So yes, my preference would be to leave it citywide and treat, surface parking lot operators the same. I don't know, Alderwoman, how many of these you actually have in your ward. I've not looked at the map, but I can't imagine it's many. I mean, we're talking specifically about, surface lots where there is no adjacent business. They're just doing pay for parking only.
Well, and would this, I guess with that said, would that cover lots that are open and not paid for parking?
If they're not charging, if there's no adjacent business, I think so.
It would cover that. I mean, they would be required to adhere to these.
I mean, if they're just a free lot, I have to look closer at the language, Alderwoman, because I don't know in that scenario if they're not charging and they're not adjacent to a business.
More specifically, would this cover any lots owned and operated by the city or any city entity?
As written, yeah, I think the city lots where they charge for parking, yes, would be would be required to, and I think they should be required to adhere to the same standards.
Oh, I agree, absolutely. Yeah. And I appreciate the work you've put into this. And I would encourage you, I know there's some movement to just make it for downtown. I would encourage you to keep it, as you said. I don't like moving crime around to other areas. And I think we'd be, like a dog chasing their tail if we didn't include the whole city in this. So thank you very much for the work you've put in. And I hope that we can get this out. Thank you. And I do support it. That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderwoman Spencer, are you still with us?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just listening at this point, and I don't have any questions at this moment. Thank you.
Alderwoman Pam Boyd.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't have any questions. I just have a comment, and I think if it's residents listening and people on this call, crime is different than it was years ago. And so I think this bill is good, and I appreciate the older people that brought this bill forward. But it's not even, but it's just that it's impacting citywide. So everything that goes on, and I know, downtown is really looking and pushing to try to make sure that they don't lose the people that live downtown and the tourists that come downtown. But I think people need to understand this is a global issue as far as a city. And so as Alderwoman Hubbard has stated earlier, whatever happens in one part, it just happens in all parts of the city. It doesn't just happen in one part. And I had a conversation with Alderman Page in regards to this. And I told him, I said, it's real funny. Downtown is saying we're in a crisis and this is what's going on. But we have our communities that have been in these same crises for over 20 years. And so now everybody's in a hurry to address it. And I'm not knocking them for addressing it, because we're trying to utilize some of the plans and stuff that they have downtown to bring into our communities, to build our communities. But people need to just look at crime, and the police will probably vouch for it. It's throughout. It's not just one area anymore. Yeah, downtown has had a lot of focus been put on them, but in our areas, those same issues are over there. We might not have the lots as you all have, the multitude of lots, but we have those same issues where we have people taking over vacant lots and doing the same thing. So I support the bill. I just think that we need to always look at crime as different than what it was 10 years ago. And so it's a citywide effort. It's just not a one community effort anymore. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Bosley.
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate everybody saw our work on this in the comments that have come thus forward. Thus far, will the sponsor yield for questions?
Of course.
Well, okay. I think you're supposed to yes, but it's fine. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Alderman Coatar, just to be clear, this is once again for individual operational parking lots or parking lots that are paid for parking, that are open, that don't have businesses adjacent to them. I just want to make sure that that's clear. It's because the previous question that was asked by, I believe, I'm sorry, mind fart. But the question that was asked was, would this affect owners of parking lots that are, you know what, I'm sorry, my apologies. I'll just ask from my standpoint. I'm got a lot going on over here. If I have a resident that lives, let's say, for instance, around the NGA, and they themselves have bought some land, like a lot of our residents has over the years, where individuals were not looking at investing in our communities, weren't looking at putting businesses in our communities. People have the opportunity to go out and buy businesses and buy some of these lots that the city has left uncared for in some time, for lack of manpower, a lot of other things. But we have a lot of development that is coming, and most certainly has been something that people are looking forward to. A lot of folks in the neighborhood are now trying to prepare themselves to create some type of mom and pop shop, try to figure out how it is that this large investment that's coming to the city is an investment that they also can be not necessarily a part of, but can manifest. I'm sorry, I had a call coming in, but also they can create some type of ways where they can make some money from all the traffic that's coming through the city also. So, with that being said, if I have a resident who's went out and paved the parking lot now, and they're looking forward to at some point in time in the near future, maybe 5 or 10 years from now, with all the different developments that are happening in and around the area, looking at possibly turning that into a parking lot, would they be grandfathered in to that because they already have a lot that's paid? Is there anything they can do to ensure that, they won't be hit with extra costs and fines? Because my neighborhood, I have some of the highest crime here within the city of St. Louis, whether it's homicide, car thefts, whatever it is, we got it all within the different neighborhoods that I represent. And rarely in my particular part of town are people being shot on the parking lot or shooting up the parking lot from being on the parking lot. Folks getting shot in the streets, folks getting shot driving in traffic. It's transit shootings, people on corners, not necessarily the open lots. So, with that being said, I guess I didn't give you a chance to answer that question. How would that affect our residents who are looking at, the area that they're in, seeing that there is absolutely no businesses, but businesses are coming, and the easiest way for them to be able to make a buck would be able to say, hey, I got this big lot. Maybe I can get a permit and, have me an open parking lot.
Yeah. So Alderman, as currently proposed, if they've got a surface parking lot and it's, it is paved and striped and permitted currently, they wouldn't be grandfathered in. These new restrictions would apply. They apply to existing lot owners. If they're in a situation where they've banked some land and they're contemplating a lot, they would have to build it to code and apply for a permit to operate. So assuming these are just freestanding parking lots with no business attached to them other than parking for profit, yes, they would have to comply with this.
Okay. And once again, we talk a lot in our communities. We got a lot of folks that are trying to figure out, once again, we've never had dollars coming to the north side of St. Louis. There is no, like the north side was brought up and is always being brought up. But we also have to look at it having its own chance of the people that live there to be able to bring some wealth and grow the opportunities that exist within the areas for the individuals that actually live there. As it exists right now, most of our residents don't have thousands of dollars to put brand new business up somewhere or build from the ground up. But we do know there are billions of dollars, once again, coming along these corridors that, is going to hopefully transition the neighborhood greatly, positively, of course. If you look at the last information that just came from the Collective Revenues Office, the entire neighborhood that I represent just about has went up in between 5 and 10%, 3 and 5% just over the last 2 years. Those things will continue to happen and rise as more people invest within the area. And I want our folks to have a chance, once again, especially our people on fixed income. We got a lot of residents that do nothing but sit at home all day that are elderly, that could easily, with what's coming. And not to say that, I know there'll be, a lot of parking that comes along with the different developments that happen. But just as people go to the games right now downtown, and parking is sometimes full. So you have to park, a mile away just to get down to the stadiums. So I'm hoping and wishing that those things will also manifest here in our neighborhood at some point in time. And our folks with these large backyards, super large, extended properties will be able to have a chance to be able to make some dollars, and eventually add a adjacent business here or there at some point in time. But I don't think what the intent of this is. The intent is to secure these parking lots so there won't be security risk or individuals putting themselves at risk, or residents, neighbors, businesses, by some of the activities that happen while on these parking lots. I don't have those things going on in my ward. Just being realistic, we got a whole lot of transit crime. People that don't live in my communities coming back sitting on these corners that have been empty, sitting in front of the actual, like Alderwoman Davis said, the operating businesses. They trap right in front of the police, right at Grand and Montgomery right now. There's an open parking lot where people sleeping on. You got all kind of crap going on that lot. They blocked it off several times. People still find their way on the inside of it. Right across the street from there, you have one of the worst large open drug areas here in the city. Everybody and their mama's out there buying, selling, getting high, and leaning on these corners. The police drive past it on a regular basis. You can sit up there right now. Now, that's not to say that they have not tried to do something about it, because they have. They've done multiple stings up there, locked up multiple people. We've had multiple deaths there. They have done a lot of work to try to calm that intersection down. But it's the behaviors of the people that are there that keep that intersection going, regardless of whether there are gates or this or that there. People go where they know for sure, there's no repercussions for actions. So whether these gates are closed or not, just like we talked about, individuals gonna come from downtown and they're gonna go hit the streets and just drive around the city or go down to these gas station parking lots, which they regularly sit at right at Grand and Broadway, as we all seen the videos with them doing donuts, shooting out the window. Those things are not going to change people's behaviors. What changes people's behaviors is culture, number one. We can say that it's poverty. That can be here and there, because there's a whole lot of rich folks out here acting a fool, shooting up other cities, going to jails. I just want to say that our culture has a problem and an issue. So, addressing this downtown, I think is extremely important, because we do get individuals from Illinois and a lot of other places who find downtown an easy place to congregate. Reason being is because you don't know who's coming to and from a club, who's sitting outside waiting to go into somewhere so they can be entertained. It's very easy, to try to set yourself up in a way where you won't feel like you're being harassed by police downtown. So most certainly it's extremely important for there to be a presence downtown where individuals know we don't play around as a city. I think downtown is an important piece for the city's growth and for atmospheric change, for people to know what's regular. If you're gonna allow shots and stuff to go off downtown, you're most certainly gonna allow them to go off in other places. So, those are the thoughts. So I definitely can support this bill on that front, but I'd like to have my ward, and it's just a question, would you be okay with me removing the boundaries of the third ward, which encompasses the NGA and a gang of other things right now. But I don't think we need to be in this particular position yet. Let's see how it plays out. If all that traffic ends up coming my way, then we'll deal with it when it gets there. But I don't see that happening because we don't have a gang of parking lots. I anticipate us having some in some point in time. But right now, we could definitely be proactive. But I don't think this would be would not be positively impactful for the future growth of my thoughts here, the different businesses and opportunities that are coming. And we stole up third ward here in the current future.
Alderman, we can certainly look at that, but my one caution to you would be, this is similar to like when we make changes to the building code, right? We've made changes to the building code that haven't always been the most popular. They might add to, construction costs, but ultimately when you're building new, you're going to make a better product. I would strongly encourage you to think about, if you're going to be having all this development and it started and you're going to have new surface parking lots, you'd rather have them built right the first time than have to come back later and try to make these changes, as we're trying to do right now with the code downtown. We've got a bunch of lots that exist under the current code and we're having a bunch of problems and having to adjust on the fly. I would say it'd be better to build them right, get them fenced, get them gated, get them properly lighted at the beginning.
And I wouldn't disagree with that, only to the point where we've allowed it to happen downtown once again, all these places for such a long time. And now we're going to say, let's make this change. If downtown is one of the places that's impacted the heaviest, let's just see how it goes. What difference, it's going to be a few years before we get up and running and things are really, really manifesting in the way that I see in my mind, as far as residents being able to take advantage of the different opportunities that exist now and will exist to manifest in the future. Hold on. So somebody just put something in the chat. Let me read that.
And Alderman, I'm happy, it means that if we're not voting on this today anyway, I'm happy to continue that discussion. I'd also like to see in the context of the special use committee, you know, in your existing ward boundaries around NGA, I'm not even sure what the parking standards are there. I think that's something we should look at.
But I wouldn't disagree with that. I don't think there are any parking standards in that area just yet. That's something that the NGA hasn't spoken much about. They asked for certain specific uses, and those uses have nothing to do with parking, per se. And I'm once again, I'm mainly thinking more so about the residents. I plan on having commercial corridors, entire corridors. I mean, we have whole blocks that have went from being residential to there actually being no residents now. Those eventually will be blocks that I turn into commercial streets. I have residents who are right next to corners that will intersect with different developments that Key has going on in other places. Again, I want to be able to turn that lot into something commercial so they can create some funding. I mean, create some wealth and you know, whatever opportunities exist. I just want the door to be open. And you know, and sometimes and a lot of times, financial barriers are the worst when it comes to the difference between how we build up North and South. There's a whole lot of individual capital, and you get to choose where you want to put your capital at. It's not always going to be in a place that you don't see your friends coming to, or you know, you're not sure you'll get your expenditures back. I just believe we got a lot of opportunity coming, and with the land being so cheap, and there not being a lot of overhead with the parking piece in general. I've already talked to some of my residents. Folks are just looking at any way that they can create some revenue at this point when this finally gets up and rolling. So I definitely would love to have more conversation with you about it. Haven't seen this up until today. Would have already called you so we could have some conversation about it.
Thanks, Alderman. We'll chat about it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate everybody's hard work on it. That I yield, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Alderman Hammond had emergency come up, so he stepped out. Alderman Oldenburg. Alderman Oldenburg.
Yep, I don't have any questions or comment at this time. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay. Alderman Bret Narayan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with the Alderwoman from the 19th here. I think I hope that we can drum up the support for this. I know that different parts of the city have different needs, but I think that this is a pressing issue for the city as a whole. And will the Alderman from the 7th yield for a quick question?
I will yield. Yes, I'm multitasking. I'm plugging my iPad here. I'm listening though.
You guys are excluding me. I feel well left out. Alderman from the 7th, will you yield from all questions from the Alderman from the 24th?
Yeah, sorry about that, Chairman.
Oh, that's okay. Go ahead. I've lost control. That's okay.
So Alderwoman Howard touched on this just briefly. The only real surface lots that I have that aren't connected to a business are the zoo expansion lots. There's 4 decent sized lots that are very seasonal in nature that the zoo uses during the summer months, mostly for their overflow parking. And I don't really have a dog in the fight. I'm just curious if there has been any discussion as you've been coming up with this as to the way to regulate that seasonal type of lot, if you see any difference in between that and just a normal surface lot. I mean, I understand the lots there 365 days a year, but.
Right. And those seasonal lots, Alderman, are those like on the other side of Oakland? Where are those? I'm just trying to.
Yeah, so they're south of Oakland.
Okay.
In the neighborhood.
Are they currently just big unsecured lots?
Yeah, they have kind of like chains blocking you from driving into them. But there's not an attendant on duty. There's not an arm there. In the summer months when they do charge for parking, they have someone there to collect the cash.
Right.
And then lock it back up at the end of the day. But there is no automated arm And they're not always open. So I don't know how that would kind of be affected in this.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it candidly. I don't think that was something really contemplated in this. I mean, as it's written, I think they would fall under this ordinance, and they'd be required to come up with a security plan and some sort of hardscaping or fencing, for those lots if they're going to be charging for parking, even just seasonally. I mean, really, a lot of the lots downtown that they are seasonal. When there's the Cardinals games and other things, and will be required to meet these same standards. So no, I don't think that's something we really thought about was zoo overflow lots. But I'm happy to discuss that with you further if that's a major concern.
Sure. No, I mean, really no concern. I'm supportive of this. I know that I'll get some questions about how this is going to affect them. So I just want to make sure that I'm on the same page as you. So yeah, if we can talk about that online. I am supportive of this. I just want to make sure that I'm not telling them something different than what you have envisioned here.
No, I don't think. Yeah, we can look at that, but I think this would apply to the Zoo Museum District lots.
Perfect. Well, that's all I have. Thank you for your work on this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have one quick question, and you might have already touched on it, I might have missed it, but I got a text about, will this have any impact on church lots?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Short and sweet.
That was it.
So just as a for instance, like Southwest, well, I can name a few of them actually, where the church lot is separate and not attached to the building.
If they're not charging for parking, is the church charging for parking?
No.
Then no.
Okay. Just came up because I know those lots, so okay, I'm sorry. Alderman Page.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have no questions at this point, having been joined at the hip with this legislation from the very beginning. But I just have a couple of comments in the form of thank yous. I would like to sincerely thank all of the individuals and groups that we reached out to, and they provided timely stakeholder input. Just so that everyone knows the formality we use to integrate that stakeholder input into the language, I was very happy to have Alderman Coatar and Alderwoman Davis to join me in a formal markup session where we actually entertain all of the recommendations, questions, input from the stakeholders to make this legislation the best that it could be. So thank you for that stakeholder input. Thank you to Frank Oswald. Thank you to Attorney Barb Bret, all people who participated in getting this legislation to where it is today. With that, I yield back. Thank you.
So I have a couple questions, just as things came up. When Frank Oswald was saying that they're going to have someone in charge of this and updated computers and all these things, is there a fiscal note tied to this? I mean, when you start figuring out the cost of the lots and everything, what the fiscal note is there a fiscal note to this?
We prepared a fiscal note, based on my conversations with Frank. He believes he can do this with existing staff, so there'd be no existing staffing costs. I mean, our fiscal notes really only relate to city expenditures and increases. Not, obviously there's going to be an increase in cost to the parking operators, but the fiscal note doesn't get into that.
Well, I mean, isn't there going to be city lots that are going to have to meet these requirements?
Well, those are the treasurer's lots. I mean, I guess that gets into a debate. Are those city lots or not?
I would say they are. So, I mean, have we, I guess, I guess the cost to the city, the cost to individual lots. I appreciate, that you're still going to be working with some of the different other people and some of the things, but I really think personally, maybe talk to the treasurer, get some sort of idea of cost, because you know that you know even the lot we park on has a gate, but I guess it's technically not fenced on all the sides. The one side, I guess, if we drive across the grass, it's not fenced. I don't know. That was just my thoughts, but I appreciate that you're gonna work with everyone still and that. And I think unless anyone on or off the committee, and I know I missed some people last time, on or off the committee, is there anyone has a question? Any alderman have a question? Hearing none, we're gonna move on to the next. We got 3 bills that we need to get out that help us get money in.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And to all the speakers and to the plumbers and pipe fitters that came to speak. Alderman Muhammad got called away to emergency and texted me. So I won't hear a bill without a sponsor. I have made it clear to the people that were asking that I will support my friend John. So take it for what it's worth. But John got called away to an emergency. So let's get on to we really have 3 bills that we really need to knock out, and it's all about money. So let's just let's see who do we have here. Let's do we got Board Bill 121. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, you're recognized on that. Board Bill 121.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Board Bill 121. The purpose of this ordinance is to authorize the fire chief on behalf of the city of St. Louis to enter into and execute an assistance to firefighters grant agreement with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security to receive $273,568.18 in such grant award funds. The ordinance appropriates the awarded funds for the required match amount of $27,356.82 and authorizes the fire chief to spend the program funds for approved purposes, which include fitness training, health and wellness programs, and exercise equipment for the firefighters' use. I have the Chief Jenkinson here, as well as Mr. Phillips, on behalf of the our fire department, our beloved St. Louis Fire Department. And with that, I'm asking, we're opening up for questions. I'm asking for a due pass recommendation.
So first off, thank you to the 2 speakers from the fire department for hanging with us and listening to our exciting earlier debates. So I guess, Chief, if you want to speak on this, why don't you go ahead and speak on this? And then I think we could run down the list. I don't think there's a lot of opposition to this bill.
Okay. I'll give a real quick statement. This is an AFG grant that we apply for every year, and we try and focus on some type of wellness initiative. Deputy Chief Derek Phillips wrote this narrative for this grant, so I'm going to let him go through a quick overview of what it consists of. It's us trying to keep up the physical fitness of all the firefighters. I will say that a workman compensation cost came out today for the fire departments, and the fire department this year again led the reduction of workman compensation for all departments in the city. So this speaks to the challenges and what we do each year, trying to keep the firemen in shape and trying to reduce all of the injuries to reduce the cost for the city. So with that, I'll let Chief Phillips take this. Derek.
Thanks, Chief. Deputy Chief Derek Phillips, Commander of the A Shift Administration and Homeland Security. I want to thank Alderwoman Clark Hubbard for sponsoring the bill. Firefighter health and wellness is a top priority in the fire service today. Firefighting is a hazardous profession that has claimed on average the lives of 105 U.S. firefighters per year over the past decade. The leading cause of line of duty mortality is sudden cardiac death, which accounts for approximately 50% of all firefighter duty-related fatalities. For every duty-related SCD event, almost 17 non-fatal cardiovascular events, heart attacks, and strokes are occurring in other firefighters during the course of their duties. Thousands of firefighters in the United States are injured on the job each year, costing taxpayers millions of dollars. Many firefighters' injuries have been attributed directly to a lack of physical fitness and exercise-related activities. Firefighters must be physically fit to perform various tasks during emergency incidents while maintaining response readiness at all times. Over the last 2 years, the members of the St. Louis Fire Department incurred 322 line of duty injuries. On average, 35% of all firefighters and 70% of all EMS employees were injured, resulting in an average of 8 days away from work per injury. Over the years, the department experienced the loss of over 80 members when their health screens showed compromised cardiovascular systems, leaving them unable to continue their careers as firefighters. Furthermore, the department suffered 2 cardiac-related line of duty deaths, with the most recent occurring in 2018. Of the 322 injuries mentioned earlier, the city incurred a cost of approximately $3.5 million. The funding of the Wellness Fitness Initiative will lead to healthier and more physically fit fire service personnel. To this end, the St. Louis Fire Department's goal is to ensure that firefighting EMS personnel are physically able to carry out the duties and their health and safety are protected. To accomplish this, the department proposes the implementation of a tactical fitness program developed specifically for tactical operators such as firefighters, law enforcement, and military personnel to help mitigate occupational stress more effectively. Tactical fitness programs condition individuals to recognize and better control the physiological response to stress in a controlled environment. The strategies applied to physical exercise are used to better manage all forms of physical, mental, and emotional stress experienced in the line of duty. The outcome goals of this program is to reduce the risk of sudden cardiac death, eliminate injuries caused by physical exertion, reduce the risk of occupational injuries, improve firefighter performance, develop the athletic mindset in firefighters, and build a foundation for teamwork and support. The specific objective and the use of this funding is to implement a tactical fitness program as a health-related fitness program for the St. Louis Fire Department. Again, we will identify exercise specialists as defined by the International Association of Firefighters and the International Association of Fire Chief Wellness and Fitness Initiative. Identify and support a health and fitness coordinator as defined by NFPA 1583. Identify and support peer fitness trainers on each shift as defined by the International Association of Firefighters and the International Association of Fire Chiefs Wellness Fitness Initiative. Implement periodic fitness assessments for all members as defined by NFPA 1583. Purchase and distribute exercise equipment to each fire station and develop specific and comprehensive exercise training programs that are available to all members as defined by NFPA 1583. With that, I ask for your favorable consideration for this board bill.
Thank you. I think we'll run through the committee. So Alderwoman Davis, any questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions. My brief comment is, of course, to thank our St. Louis Fire Department, all of its members, leadership, for all they do for our constituency, and most especially be safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Howard? You're muted there.
Oh, I would like to ditto the Alderwoman from the 19th sentiments, and I would like to thank Mr. Phillips for applying for this and the concern to keep our firefighters healthy and in good shape as they run into the danger as we run away. Thank you very much.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderwoman Spencer, are you still with us? Okay, she might have stepped out. Alderwoman Pam Boyd.
I don't have any, the comment, I do have comment. The comment that I have is ditto to the previous audit people. The question that I have is on this physical, this grant, is this, are you all looking at cancer also? Because I'm pretty sure your numbers are probably pretty high.
Yeah, that is a good question. We applied for previous grants, and we've been working on our cancer initiative for the greater part of probably 3 years now. pretty much everything that we needed to do to put in place, we've already done for the cancer initiative. So this is just kind of an offshoot to that, to look at other aspects as injuring firefighters and try to reduce those injuries as well.
Okay, thank you so much.
Alderman Bosley. Alderman Bosley.
I'm here. Can you hear me? My phone has been cutting in and out. Can you hear me well?
You're good, yes.
Okay. I don't have any questions, but hey, what's going on, Chief? Just wanted to say that definitely appreciate the work and effort being put into this. Definitely want to make sure we keep all of our emergency personnel feeling appreciated, and you know, any monies we can bring down to protect them and help make their job a little bit easier. You know, it's definitely always something that we want to do. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Alderman Oldenburg.
I don't have any comments. Appreciate Chief and Deputy Chief being here today. Thank you, Chairman.
Alderman Narayan.
Thank you, Chairman Vaccaro. Just again, wanted to echo the sentiments of my colleagues. Wanted to thank the chief and thank all the members of the St. Louis Fire Department. And with the permission of the Alderwoman from the 26th, I'd like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Is there any motion to make this in bank out of the board while I'm going down this?
I can certainly motion to. I guess can we do in bank or can
we can do in bank from the board? Sure, everyone on the board.
Yeah, then I'll move to make this in bank.
On the committee.
On the committee, bank of the committee, yes. And can we just do all in favor, or do we need to do a roll call?
I just have a question.
Oh, sure. Go ahead.
Are you talking about in-banking the full board, all 28 members?
No, banking the committee. Everybody in the committee, rather than each one of us,
okay.
by one saying they had my name.
Okay. All right.
So we have a motion.
I move that we pass the due pass recommendation.
Well, no, we're not that far yet. This is just to do it in bank. If everybody. Okay. So we'll just do all in favor.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so we're just going to add everyone, if you would, please. And did I do Alderman Clark Hubbard? Did I pass over you? And then I got you and Alderman Page. Are you any questions on the bill? None. Yeah. I'm sorry, I lost track after a second. Alderman Page.
Simply, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just simply ditto on all the previous positive comments. And thank you to the Chief and Deputy Chief and to the Alderwoman of the fabulous 26 for bringing this matter to our attention, this important health and wellness initiative. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. And thank you. And of course, I admire the fire and the ambulance guys who some people think was a good thing. They saved my life when I was having a heart attack, and there's a few that probably said, but anyway, having said that, I would entertain a motion that we pass Board Bill 121 out with a due pass recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
We can't do previous roll. Let's do a roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
I'm sorry, Chairman, who made the motion?
Well, it was a toss.
Alderwoman Howard.
Yeah, Alderwoman Howard, and then Alderman Davis was the second.
Thank you. Alderman Boyd. Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd. Sorry, Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderman Page.
Aye.
Chairman Vaccaro.
Aye.
10 aye votes.
Okay, we moved that one along. We passed it out with a due pass recommendation. Thank you, Fire Chief and Chief, for showing up.
Thank you very much for your support.
Oh, thank you. Alderwoman Carol Howard, you're recognized on Board Bill 131.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is Board Bill 131. It's a JAG grant. The purpose of this ordinance or this bill is to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety or his designees on behalf of the City of St. Louis to enter into and execute a U.S. Department of Justice Edward Byrne Justice Assistant Grant, JAG grant, to receive $450,415 in such grant award funds. The ordinance appropriates the award funds, authorize the Department of Public Safety or their designated to spend the program for the Youth Empowerment Services Program, the Family Court, Juvenile Division Night Watch Program, the legal support in the problem property and legal support in the problem properties program. The ordinance contains an emergency clause. Members of the board, there are the parameters of the grant are attached in all the rules, but how we've spent this in the past is similar to what we're doing now. And I would appreciate the favorable consideration of the Public Safety Committee in passing this board bill out with a due pass recommendation. You're muted.
I got it. I'm sorry. Thank you. I'm just going to go down the list in case someone has a question, but I think we can get through this one fairly decent. Alderwoman Davis.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderman Howard, it's yours. Alderman Spencer. Oh, I'm sorry, Alderwoman Spencer.
Let me get him here.
She might have stepped out. I'm sorry. Alderwoman Pam Boyd.
I have no. What are we doing? I'm sorry. Shoot, I'm crazy.
This is board bill. I'm sorry, 121. It's a grant. It's just about getting money.
131.
Well, I'm sorry, 131. I'm sorry.
So I'm fine.
Okay. Alderman Bosley. And he's out and about. He might have lost service. Alderman Oldenburg.
Just a quick question, Mr. Chairman, if the sponsor will yield.
Sure. Will the sponsor yield to a question from Alderman 16?
Sure.
Thank you, Alderwoman. I can check with the Public Safety Director's office. Do you know, are they capturing any data on the efficacy of the use of these proceeds and specifically the YES program that this is funding?
I don't know the answer to that, and they were invited to come today, but they were previously booked.
Okay.
So we can reach out to them at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I'll ask him. I think this is a no-brainer, and I think in the dollars probably go to good use, but I think it's worth an ask to the Public Safety Director's office to make sure. I mean,
what rewards?
I would assume there might be some things attached to that grant that they have to submit there, but I just like to hear it from them. So I'll ask them. Thank you, Alderman.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, Alderman? Okay, no other questions. Let's see, Alderman Bret Narayan.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderman Clark Hubbard.
No questions. Thank you.
Alderman Page.
No questions. Thank you.
I will entertain a motion to pass Board Bill 131 out with a due pass recommendation.
So moved.
Second.
Is there a call for previous roll?
Previous roll.
Hearing no objection to previous roll, we passed out Board Bill 131.
Thank you.
Madam Clerk, Mr. Clerk now, it seems to be. I don't think I missed anything. Something keeps telling me I am missing one, but I know that Alderman Todd pulled his.
Right.
So I don't think we're missing anything. You can tell me if I did. So having said that, I want to thank everybody and for all the patience. And a lot of this stuff we're going to come back and still have to deal with. whether it's the parking lots or it's the plumbers and pipe fitters. All these things are still things that we're going to have to come up eventually with. But having said that, I look for a motion to adjourn if anybody, unless we all want to stay and visit.
Mr. Chairman, would you like to excuse the alderman?
Yeah, well, so I'd like to excuse all the aldermen that weren't here, but I think at one point, other than the vice chairman, which will excuse the vice chairman, I think at one point everyone else was here off and on. That I noticed. I mean, I can go down my list again, but so I would say we excuse the alderman, the vice chairman, Alderman Boyd. Everyone else has voted at one time or another. So it would be an excuse of Alderman Boyd. Having done that, we have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate everyone. Thank you.